Good morning, lovely friends. How are you all today? I hope you're well. We finally have a bit of sunshine and warmth again. Yay! It's actually really quite warm. It's so lovely after... Oh, it just seems like the whole of August so far has been either grey or raining or howling wind. There's a bit of wind out there today, but that's quite nice. It's a nice little breeze to just cool things down a bit. So I haven't been to the garden for a couple of days. As I was saying, I haven't been to the garden for a couple of days. Partly there have been days where it's just been absolutely chucking down all day, or I've been busy sewing and what have you. So it's really lovely to come today and see some red tomatoes, finally. And I've also just spied, they're teeny tiny at the moment, the beginnings of the formings of some loofahs. Oh my goodness. I think they're a bit late, but never mind. I'll leave them to do their own thing and they may come to fruition. I'll show you all of that in a couple of weeks I'll be doing the September tour. This month has flown. And actually the last few days I've been running around, not quite like a headless chicken, but just really, really busy. You know how it is. There are times, you all have this too, where you're literally up at 6 in the morning, on the go till 10 at night, go to bed, get up, do it all again the next day. So it's been a really quite frantic pace the last few days. And I've been looking forward to today over the last few days because I know what I want to tackle today. It's basically the herb bed and all the flowers that are dotted around the garden and the rose bush tree. I never know what to call it. It's the size of a tree, isn't it? Partly because they need attention, but also partly because, as I mentioned, we've got our Catherine's wedding coming up soon. So I'm going to be deadheading things today in the hopes that it will encourage some more blooms in time for her to pick for the wedding. I also need to get on with harvesting things for myself. And also, even if I do get second flurries of blooms after all the deadheading and it's too late for Catherine's wedding, well, I'll enjoy it in the garden anyway. So the plan today, like I said, it's all herbs and flowers. And I just want to take the pace down a bit. And I think this is one of the joys of our gardens. I've just had a little quick walk around, which is why I saw the tomatoes and the loofah. There's all sorts that needs doing, but I'll do it in a couple of days because, like I say, one of the joys of having the garden is using it to just sort of decompress a bit. So it's going to be a nice, slow day today. I hope. It's suddenly looking a bit cloudy out there. We are absolutely not forecast rain now for a few days. And also, despite all this rain we've had, just having a quick look around, I can see that the big grow bag on my deck has dried out and everything's looking a bit droopy, so I'll give it a water from the water butt because there'll be plenty of water in the water butt. And also the trough I've got next to the shed door, I'll show you in a little while, has been really dry all summer. So what I think I'll do next spring when I plant it up is I'll ask one of my neighbours, because a lot of my neighbours buy in their compost, if I can have one of the old compost bags. Because that trough is wooden, then I can line it with the line it with the plastic of the compost bag to hopefully help it retain water. I'm not sure, possibly something similar with the grow bag because it is porous, and I've noticed when I water does come out of it. So it might be something as simple as just maybe lining the very bottom of it. Or, you know, if I see something on Free Cycle or a Skip, maybe a big round tea tray to stand it on. I'll think of something. I'll scrounge something. I've actually been on the scrounge this morning, a bit hot and sweaty. I've been free cycling, so it's the next village over from me, and it's on the other side of the railway tracks, which means an up and over of the steps of the bridge. But someone was getting rid of a roll of packing paper. Now, I quite often use newspapers for packing, but I'm always concerned about the newsprint coming off on the goodies that I'm posting away. So this is part of it. Just show you, it's this kind of sort of almost corrugated, really sturdy paper. It was a massive roll. See, this bit, I actually had to, I was in the street at this person's door, unrolling the big roll, rolling it into the smaller roll. The big roll is about 3 times the size of this to get it into my granny trolley. So yeah, all the more reason for a go slow day, because that was a bit of a schlep, but well worth it. Isn't free cycle great? Now, before I do go into the garden, I've got a couple of thank yous to say. Thank you to Teresa. Any of you who see my Facebook page will have seen the beautiful socks she knitted me. But she's also sent me one of these hats that kind of rolls up in on itself so you can pack it away. And it's great. Now, I won't wear it while I'm filming because, look, it's right down over my face. Is anybody there? But what I love is because there's no top to it, the top of my head can breathe, because that's one of the reasons I don't like wearing hats. I mean, I do, because I know I ought to, but I get to feeling so hot and sweaty on my head, so that's fantastic. It's going to give me a load of shade on my face and the back of my neck, but it'll let my head breathe a bit. So thank you, Teresa. And the socks, oh, socks are beautiful. Also, thank you to Belinda. Unraveling. She has sent me a couple of really beautiful garlics. Did she say what name they are? Oh, she doesn't say what breed they are. But anyway, she sent me a couple of these. So, and what seems amazing, this is what I mean about August is flying. This whole year is flying. Literally in about 7 or 8 weeks, I'm going to be planting my garlic for next year. It's bonkers, isn't it? You know, I was getting all those brassicas in and thinking about winter. Well, this is a crop for next year, and I haven't even had this year's harvests out yet. So anyway, I've got 2 of those. Thank you. Oh gosh. Oh, they smell. They smell so good. Thank you, Belinda. And my last thank you is to Alison. I'll give you a quick flash. Alison, thank you so much for your lovely letter. Alison had ordered something from the shop, and she was sort of sending me a thank you note for how it was all packaged, and I like to make things pretty when I can. But then she's written me this really lovely long chatty letter about what she's up to with her self-sufficiency. Yeah, it's lovely. And again, talking of this frenetic pace that I've had in the last few days, when I came, I'd come back to the flat about 10:30 in the morning. By the time I got back home, the postman had been. I'd been running around, like, again, I'd been on the go since 6 o'clock that morning, just not stopping, whizzing. So when this letter came, it was great, because I sat down and I properly just sat down. My breathing slowed down, my heart rate slowed down as I read and enjoyed this lovely letter. I read it twice. It was lovely. Right. I've still got that slight frenetic energy. I really need to bring it down. So let's go into the garden. Where shall we start? Let's start in the herb bed. Despite the fact that we haven't had any rain for, I think it's over 24 hours now, and despite the fact that the sun has been blazing all morning, it's still a bit damp on the ground, so I'm sitting on a folded up blanket from the shed. That's why you should have blankets in the shed. I haven't got a piece of cardboard to sit on for once. It's a blanket that needed washing anyway. Okay, so the herb bed. Right, well, anyone who's been watching my channel for the last year or so will remember that I planted the herb bed over the course of last May and June. Yes, I sort of vaguely knew what I wanted. I think it's more of a feeling, an impression, than necessarily the sort of the specifics. Oh, here comes that wind again. I think we're just going to have to put up with it today. So this year, obviously, sorry, gather your thoughts, Vivi. Because I'm wanting to go slow today, my brain is going to be turning to mush. So everything got planted May, June last year. A couple of extras this year. The bergamot, which is tucked in there. There's a little bit of chamomile down there. But essentially, I haven't done anything with this bed. There were a few, obviously the calendula there at the back end and the sweet peas at the back end, just to plug gaps whilst plants were having the chance to fill out. This time last year I did, or all through last year, I basically didn't harvest. I just wanted to give the plants a chance to get established. About this time last year I did harvest my lavender, partly because I wanted to harvest, but also partly that's kind of pruning the plants to keep them in good shape and to keep them sort of under control. The English lavender's gone. Ah! So now we come into this year, and again, I've not touched it. I've let it just do what it wants to do. Partly I just wanted to see how each plant would manage in the space, to see, do the plants like the conditions I've given them when I planted them. So for example, all the lavenders, both the English and the French along this side, they were all planted and had a load of grit in the bottom of their planting holes just to help with drainage, because they hate having soggy roots. And they're obviously happy. They're obviously delighted with where they are. So I've just let things get on with whatever they want to do this year. You see, spot a little weed, got to have it out. Let them just do what they want to do this year, just to let me see how this bed is going to develop. So the feverfew went mad at the beginning of the year. You can see it sprouting again, and there's loads of gnarly, woody bits sticking up. It's going to be one of those days, isn't it? And there it goes. Yeah, there's loads of gnarly, woody bits sticking up still, because when I cut out that mass that was there, I just did it very roughly, so I can go and give that a proper little trim today. The tansy now has come out, so this is what I mean about just giving the bed a year to get established and to see what's going to happen, see how the plants like it or don't like it. Now, I think the tansy liked it too much, because although I knew it was going to get big and be a tall plant, it was threatening to take over the whole bed. And much as I like it as a plant, and much as it produces a really, really beautiful dye, so if you remember, I gave all my blooms last year to my friend Linda to use to make her dyes, absolutely gorgeous dye. For me, it's one of those things where I'm looking at the size of bed I've got and how much use I'm going to get from each plant. So over the last couple of months, I've been thinking more and more about what do I want to have in here, what do I maybe not want to have in here. And as the summer's gone on, the bees and butterflies have been using it so much. Honestly, I've never had the kind of butterfly activity in this garden as I've had this year. So that's kind of made me change my thinking as well. So the tansy's gone. I'm going to use that space to plant up a load of the chamomile, which is over here, which I started from seed this year. Some of it's fared better than others, but I would rather have a load of chamomile than a load of tansy, because with the chamomile I will use loads of it for making my tea. So part of my job today, in that clump of chamomile, I did have quite a few blooms out early on to use for tea. I've used them, they're all used up, yum yum yum. But some of them have gone right over now. I've been so busy with other things, I've really neglected this bed. So I kind of want to get on top of things, take things out, put things in, what have you. And I would just say, I suppose the reason I'm saying all this is if you're establishing a bed, like a herb bed or anything that's perennial, give it time, give it at least a year to let it get itself established. Then you can see how it's working, and then you can start to make decisions. There's no point, if you saw last year, these plants were tiny when they went in. Give them the time to fill out, give them the time to, show you that they're happy there or that they're not happy there. Then after a year or so, you can start to kind of make some slightly more educated decisions about how you want your bed to go. So it's time to get harvesting and clearing. I'm going to clear at that end of the bed because that's where I've got the Sweet Sicily and the Lovage, and they're both taking forever to get going. So I'm going to give them a bit of space, and hopefully that will help. Hey Poppykins, are you going to help? Oh yes, we'll do some lavender harvesting together. Now I'm going to harvest the English and the French lavender slightly differently. I'll show you and I'll explain. So, well, firstly, by all accounts, the French lavender should not have survived my winter last year, but it did. Woo! Albeit a bit straggly. They have these really, really beautiful, really deep purple flower spikes on them, absolutely gorgeous. So my French lavender, it had its first flurry, which have gone over now, which I can harvest. But they've now started getting these new spikes, and this is what I want to try to nurture for Catherine's wedding, for some of her little bouquets, tuzzy muzzies, or the buttonholes. So I'm actually going to painstakingly harvest the French lavender by snipping in to each and every individual stem of the ones that are ready, rather than, as I will do with the English lavender, where I'll grab clumps and harvest, just because I want to preserve these little new blooms that are coming. The really important thing with lavender, with all of these, if you think about the Mediterranean, the warm place herbs, so things like the sage and the rosemary too, is when you're harvesting and you're cutting into it, just make sure you only cut as far back as you can see where there's still green growth, as opposed to cutting right back into the woodiness, because if you do cut back into the woodiness, the chances are it's not going to recover, and you'll just end up with a woody, just a spike of woodiness in your garden. A spike of woodiness? That's not what I mean. I think you know what I mean. So yeah, it is a bit time consuming to do it this way, but like I say, it'll preserve these lovely fresh blooms for Catherine for the wedding, and today's about not rushing, just enjoying the moment with hopefully not too much noise. Oh, London is never finished. There's always someone somewhere building something. I'm going to get you right in close so you can see what I mean about how far to cut back. So I've selected my stem that I want to harvest, and oh gosh, it's going to be tricky to show you, but if I trace it back now, can you see there, does that show up? You can see this is really quite woody here. I don't want to cut down into that, because then, like I say, chances are I won't get anything back. But if we look just towards the bottom of this one's stem, trying to show you, let me get my fingers behind that, might show up a bit better. Can you see all this new growth? That's what I want for next year. So when I'm harvesting / pruning, I'm just going to cut there. That's my harvest. And then I'm left with this lovely new growth for next year. Brilliant. The other thing to say about French lavender as opposed to the English, really quite short stem, really quite short. The fragrance is gorgeous. It's so worth it for its fragrance and for this beautiful colour of the fresh blooms. But if you want to do anything with it other than just using the seed head, in other words, if you want to make lavender wands, you need a really long stem, you're after your English lavender for them. So let me just go and show you how I'm going to harvest the English lavender now. Oh, first find where it begins and ends. It's tangled in with all this clover that I've left. There's clover in this grass path and I leave that for the bees. Just to say, in terms of the bees and their food, the marjoram is now flowering. I've left that to go to flower, so they've got that. Obviously the French lavender is coming again, so they'll have that. I don't know if I'm going to take all the English lavender today. I think I'll probably just do these first 2 and leave the next 4 plants. Maybe I'll do 1 a week and gradually take them away over the next sort of 3 or 4 weeks, just so as I don't sort of give the bees a shock and remove all this food all in one go. Okay, so with the English lavender, one can be a little bit more brutal. So same principle with the French, that you don't want to go back into the woody parts. But what I tend to do once it's at this stage is grab a good handful and then just snip them off. I haven't gone back into the green, into the woodiness, but doing it this way, it's quite possible I'll end up with a few random sort of dead spiky bits. But once I've harvested, I can then just go back over the plants if I want to, if there's time, and just give them a little bit of shaping, give them a bit of a trim. But essentially, this harvesting now is their pruning. And I'll be aiming for a sort of a slight dome effect with all the plants. I have, I do plant them quite closely. They're only about 18 inches apart, and I suppose ideally you would plant them 2 feet apart. I don't have the space, and I was greedy to have 6 in, but that's all the more reason at this time each year, not just that I harvest, but that I give everything a good prune so that I can keep them fairly compact. That will become evident once I've got all this gorgeous stuff off. Oh my goodness, the smell. I am sure you can all imagine it. Gorgeous. Hopefully you can see as I'm doing it how this sort of, it's like dome shape I'm going for is developing. Just to say as well, when you're harvesting any of your flowers or herbs for drying, so exactly the same with the calendula, I like to do it towards the end of the morning on a sunny day so that any of the overnight dew that may have been sitting on the flowers has had time to evaporate. The blooms have had time to fully open. Gorgeous. It's amazing. It's amazing how well these plants have done in just a year. Do you remember how small they were when I put them in? Goodness, they were little babies. And now look at them. Thugs. The best kind of garden thugs. So as you can see, I'm not being very gentle. Grab a handful, hoik them out. And then I can always tidy / prettify the remaining plant later on. Oh, that's the rhubarb dying back. I've been very good and not harvested from it all year. Very tempted to, but I didn't. Oops. Right, well this is going to take me a little while, isn't it? So why don't we all go and have a cup of tea? May I suggest a cup of chamomile? Seems suitable for a herb bed day. Isn't it a happy sight? You can't see it, the sun's gone in. Show it to you there. What a happy sight. That's 2 English lavenders harvested. That's all the French. Oh well. The French, the perfume must smell really strong, but this, and like I was saying, these beautiful, where is the light? We've suddenly got a load of cloud cover, you can't see, can you? But hopefully you can make out just how long the stems are. Brilliant. If you're wanting to do things with the stem included, whether it's making little posies, or like I say, making the lavender ones, if I have time over the winter, that's what I shall be doing with them. Oh, blissful. Right, seeing as I'm at the shed, I'm just looking behind you. Let's get on and sort this mess out. Hey little Rosie. I feel like I've really neglected the flowers this year. I don't know. It's just, I've been harvesting the ones that I use for balms, cooking, what have you. But the ones that are purely decorative, they've been getting ignored a little bit. So these sweet peas, they were pretty much over weeks ago. It's like I was mentioning, this trough they're in, it's wooden, and I think it's just not been holding on to any of the water I've been putting in. I'm leaving all the sweet pea roots in for now, just because there are some pelargoniums in here which have also struggled. They don't normally struggle quite so much, but yeah, I'm leaving the sweet pea roots in for now, just that I don't disturb the little pelargonium roots, which are also due a deadheading. They should mostly just snap off. Oh, the smell! You know, I always talk about the smell of tomatoes. Well, my goodness, the smell of begonias also makes me think of my granddad. Beautiful. They should, in theory, just keep chucking out blooms if I keep deadheading them. So, yes, a few of the leaves have died back a bit as well, so they can come off. And once I've done these, I'll do all the ones that I've got on the deck too. And hopefully, also by doing all this deadheading today, my garden won't look quite so autumnal. I do feel like I need to have a big tidying session That can wait for another day though. Today it's all about the flowers. Let's get rid of those horrid spiky bits. I want to get in at the back here. Yeah. All summer. Oh, what is that? Oh, that was a snail. The sweet peas went over so quickly. At least I had some, that was good. But for ages now, oh, I'm going to just tread for a second. Yeah, I've been wanting to get in here, get all of this out, because down here I've got the sweet Sicily, and over here, behind this weed, is the lovage. And I really, really want to sort them out with a bit of space. Just give them half a chance. Right, let's just pull that out. Pull out and be done with it. Like I say, doing all this kind of clearing stuff out of the way today, it does feel like autumn tasks. What is that? That's a weed. Can we get a bit of space there? I'm going to have some of the calendula out because it's been quite rampant down here. Actually, yeah, that can come out. Let's make some lovely room for the sweet Sicily. Is that going to work? Is that going to do it? And then, oh, I need to step over. Let me show you how the lovage is doing, because you haven't seen it all summer, have you? Because it's been buried. So this is the lovely lovage. Here we are. Now it will get to 5 feet more. It should, but it's taking its time. So that's why I say I'm going to. What are you? I don't recognise it. Oh, it's a lily. I might actually harvest this little bit of lavender today as well, just to get some more light down there and encourage it to get going. And then this over here, beautiful, beautiful foliage, isn't it? This is the sweet Sicily. It's a fantastic sort of sugar substitute. It goes perfectly with rhubarb. Yeah, that's got a bit more space now too. So I think, yeah, we'll have the last of these calendula out. That's also a little lily. Not too bad by way of weeds down there by the looks of it, but then there's not much space for any weeds, is there? Right, I think St. Johnswort next. Such a lovely job to do on a beautiful, mostly sunny, warm, breezy day coming towards the end of August. I can see there's a load of buds coming there, a few here. So I'm not sure what the date is today. I think it's about, maybe it's the 19th, 20th. Probably won't see this for a few days. But I'm just thinking, I'm just marking the date in my own head of when I'm doing all this deadheading. And let's see if I get a third flush of blooms. Because all the ones that I'm deadheading now, they're all my second flush. Brilliant. I get asked over and over again, what's the name of this rose? And I'm so sorry, I don't know. When I took the plot on, I inherited it. It was a gnarly, stumpy thing kind of down here. I was in half a mind when I first came here to take it out, but that first year it did put out some blooms and they were so pretty. I thought, oh, you know what, I'm going to give it a chance. I'm going to give it a chance, keep pruning it, keep caring for it, and see if it'll see if I can bring it back to some semblance of a decent life. And it has, and it gives and gives and gives. So I'm really sorry, I don't know the name of it. No idea. The other question I get asked a lot is, does it smell? Does it have a scent? No, not especially. It smells like a rose, like roses. It smells like roses used to smell when we were all kids, as in, they didn't really have a smell, but just roses. While I'm at it, I'm going to take my time with this today, because while I'm at it, I'm just going to go through and give it its summer prune, as it were. So I'm going to look for any bits that have died back, any bits that are damaged, diseased. That's my winter prune, isn't it? I'm trying to remember what Jackie taught me, but summer is the S's, isn't it? Shape, sanitation, is it healthy? Yeah. So I'll go through, whip off all these old heads, and let's see how long it takes, if it happens, for me to get a load more blooms. Of course, no day in the garden attending to flowers, the herb bed, deadheading would never be complete unless I also attended to the beautiful calendula, which just come and come and come. However, I've shown that to you a gazillion times, so I'm not going to bore you with it again today. It'll probably take me, I don't know, best part of an hour to go through this lot, but it'll be worth it. We're getting to the stage of year now where I'm going to deadhead today, I'll then come back through and harvest, and now probably for the rest of the season, well, I may do a little bit of harvesting, but I'm not going to be deadheading, probably not going to be deadheading now, because I'm getting to the stage where, yeah, I want to save the seed. So, like I said, you've seen this before a gazillion times. It's going to take me ages. I think this video is going to turn out to be quite long. Again, I don't mean to do it. I get so excited in the garden. I just want to show you what's going on and share the joy with you. But yeah, it's going to be quite long, so I'm going to wrap things up here. I'm just going to completely lose myself in this task. Let my mind wander. Just make the most of a beautiful day, because I think autumn is just around the corner. And although autumn is beautiful, I love autumn, I'm a real summer girl, so I just want to make the most of these gorgeous, precious days while I can. What better way of doing it than just quietly playing with your calendula. Alright, my lovelies. Oh, right on cue, a big cloud. The clouds are coming and going quite quickly though, because of this stiff breeze. Right, as I was saying, it's time for me to say cheerio to you all. I hope wherever you're at in your gardens, you are making the most, make the most of them. We'll be complaining of dark, chilly evenings before you know it. So go on, why not try and rearrange your schedule right now so you can get outside to the garden and just immerse yourself in the joy of it all. I will see you all again really soon, I hope. I have no idea what I'll be doing next time, but I'm sure I will see you again in the garden before too long. In the meantime, please take care of yourselves and embrace the joy every day. Cheerio.